So, again, after I dropped out of that, I very shortly thereafter moved out of my mother's house, my mother and stepfather's house, and in with my stepmother. I moved in with my stepmother and continued working on computers. I actually ended up, of course, I built my own computer. I don't remember exactly why I had to build another computer. I think it had something to do with part of when I moved, I sold my current computer to my mother because she needed it. She was using it for America Online, AOL, and Prodigy. Bet none of you guys remember Prodigy. But she would have been without a computer because she was sharing mine. So I just, yeah, whatever. Because I didn't want to make her mad. I didn't want to burn any bridges. So, that's why I said I went without a computer there for like a year. Because it took me that long to save up the money to build myself another one. And, continued doing stuff through dial-up, IRC, my web development skills progressed slowly, but mostly I love to tinker around inside of computers and love to see how things work. And so I was constantly, every month or every other month I would save up money, and I was getting, and I'm still getting, disability checks because I am legally blind. I have 2400 vision in both eyes. I cannot see. I'm very, very nearsighted, and that's probably a blessing for me because although I can't see more than 2 feet in front of me, I could get down inside a computer and see very well. Well enough to move jumpers around and solder things if I needed to, or whatever, change CPUs. And so, I would upgrade constantly. I eventually got to the point where I built my little brother a computer. I built my stepmother a computer of her own, because they were always bugging me to use mine, play games on. And people ask me if I was a gamer. In fact, I'll kind of cover that later but I'll just say this: I didn't really play much games on it. So yeah, I love to get. I taught myself everything about working inside computers, how they work, and I'm sure that my electronics training, for the 6 months that I was there, I'm sure that helped out a lot in understanding how they work and how things work and how to repair them. I can still remember the very first CD burner I bought. The CD burner was a 1X CD burner, which means it burned at 1 times speed, which means it took 74 minutes to burn a single CD. CDR, CD recordable. Cost me $500, $499. Can you believe that? And this was in, I believe it was the summer of 1999. Yeah, wow. I remember so much though. I remember around then, 99, 2000, DivX movies started coming about. And I'm not talking about the old DivX discs that you would get at Circuit City. I'm talking about, DivX movies that you downloaded and would watch on your computer. I remember my very first broadband connection. I got my first cable modem. Waited and waited for 2 years for it to finally come to Grand Prairie. And it did finally. And on January 1st, New Year's Day of 2000, I got my first cable modem, and it was fast. I think it was 5 megabits, either 3 megabits download and of course 256 megabits or kilobits upload. for that was fast. For that time, that was fast. Uh, Led me into a whole new world there. Um, Continue my web development. That's about where IRC came in. And, well, no, actually, I was using IRC before then. But it made it a lot faster to transfer files back and forth to people. So now, we'll kind of talk about from 2000 on forward to now. And this kind of gets into gaming some. Because I was never really into gaming, aside from console gaming, which we had, you know, we loved. My stepmother and I both, and my little brother, or my stepbrother, were big Nintendo fans. So of course we had a regular Nintendo when they came out. We had a Super Nintendo when they came out, and we got a Nintendo 64 when they came out. And you know, I was big into that. I still consider myself one of the world's biggest Zelda fans. About the only Zelda game that I have not played are the crappy ones that came out for the Philips CDI, which aren't even really considered Zelda games by most fans. And I haven't played a few of the ones that came out for the Game Boy Color and Game Boy Advance. Shame on me. But I'm like the biggest authority on A Link to the Past for the Super Nintendo, Ocarina of Time for the Nintendo 64, and you know, I've actually never played Majora's Mask, but everyone said that was kind of crappy compared to you know, Ocarina of Time. So anyway, you know me, I ramble off about another subject. Computer-wise, kept doing my web development thing, kept doing the IRC thing. Somewhere around, when was it? You know, actually, I think it was the summer of 2000. I moved away from my stepmother. So, lots of drama there. And I moved back in with my mother. My mother invited me back in. You know, she said they could use a hand. Of course, they had 2 kids there, and my sister was being a pain in the ass, so I was welcome back in, and I continued for a while there with IRC, Internet Relay Chat, but eventually we just grew out of it, and that's, you know, me and Sandra Cummings, who was my best friend at the time, just kind of grew out of it. After a while, I mean, we were into it from 98, well, for 3 or 4 years, from 97 to 98 to 2001 or 2002. I continued on in the computers. Like I said, I lost Sandra as a friend for a long time, up until recently. Never really gamed much. The only game that I actually got into, there was a guy that I hung out with on IRC. He went by the nickname Akuma, and I don't remember what his real name was. I may not have ever even known it. One of the big things about IRC was anonymity, because we were trading, you know, pirated software back and forth, and so a lot of us didn't want, unless we knew each other personally or became friends, which some of us did, we didn't want. So anyway, this kid Akuma introduced me to Half-Life, and most specifically a modification for it called Action Half-Life. And Action Half-Life was all about stealth and sneaking around a corner and using a sniper rifle and popping someone in the back of the head, and I just loved it. Of course, it's the first game aside from maybe like, you know, Doom and Quake, I played those when they came out. Doom, when it came out, because of the moving up and down, I couldn't play it. It made me sick. I call it Doom sick. Even to this day, when there's a game that comes out that makes me ill, I call it being Doom sick.